If you're joining us today, chances are you're looking for trusted strategic guidance on how to optimize your family's financial planning as you prepare for or enjoy retirement. And you're in the right place. Our presenter today is someone who spent more than 35 years helping families protect and grow their wealth with smart, tax-savvy planning. James Lange is a CPA, an estate attorney, and a nationally recognized expert on Roth IRAs, retirement plan distributions, and holistic tax and estate planning. A prolific writer, Jim's retirement planning techniques have been featured in the Wall Street Journal 37 times, and he's authored 10 best-selling financial planning books, including Retire Secure, The Roth Revolution, Beating the New Death Tax, the 2014 the $214,000 mistake, how to double your Social Security and maximize your IRAs, and Retire Secure for professors and TIA participants. These books have become classics, and they're endorsed by some of the country's top experts, including Charles Schwab, the late Larry King, Jane Bryant Quinn, Roger Ebbetson, Ed Slott, Bob Keebler, Larry Kotlikoff, Larry Swedroe, and Burton Malkiel. But what sets Jim and our talented CPAs apart are their ability to take complex tax laws and to turn them into actionable strategies. Jim has been ahead of the curve for decades, from publishing the first peer-reviewed article on Roth IRAs in 1998 to predicting the end of the stretch IRA years before Congress passed the Secure Act. Through his interrelated firms, including a CPA firm that prepares more than 750 tax returns annually, and a registered investment advisory firm that helps manage and plan for nearly $1 billion in assets under management. Jim and our team have helped hundreds of families build personalized financial master plans. And as a member of the team here at Lang, I've had the unique opportunity to get a real behind the scenes look at just how much Jim cares about packing these presentations full of topical and relevant, actionable content. So let's let him get to that. Without further ado, please welcome Jim Lange.
So I was cycling down the path with a couple friends in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and the path took us through this darkened tunnel, and I went in and unfortunately didn't see a huge pothole in front of me, and I went down hard. And when I tried to get up, I couldn't get up. And ultimately, I was rushed to the local hospital. They did an x-ray and I got the bad news I had broken a hip. And the good news was there happened to be a general surgeon that was on call, and he said I needed surgery and that he could do it shortly. And I was in pain, and that seemed like a fairly attractive offer. And then I thought about it. Do I want a general surgeon who happens to be on call in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, or do I want to go to Pittsburgh, find a specialist, and get a surgery there? So I asked them, if I wait overnight and get the surgery done in Pittsburgh, will it have a bad impact on the surgery? And they said, no, you'll have a very uncomfortable night, but that you wouldn't be doing any long-term damage. And I said, well, if you don't mind, I think I'd prefer to get the surgery done in Pittsburgh. And we were able to find not only a specialist in hips, but a specialist in hip trauma. So this was kind of like a specialty of a specialty. And I had the surgery in Pittsburgh. And then I put together a team. I had an acupuncturist, I had a nutritionist, I had a physical therapist, and we all worked together for my recovery. And when I went to the surgeon for the first checkup, and I was in my 50s at the time, he said that it was the strongest recovery he had ever seen. And the reason I'm starting with this story is because sometimes it takes a team of professionals to really get you the best result for yourself and for your family. And the topic that we're going to talk about is if you retire tomorrow, how much money you can safely spend. And even just within the context of this webinar, I kind of put together a team, and I don't even necessarily mean my team, although boy, they do a great job, and they are going to present today, which is wonderful. Part of the team for this workshop were two of the top experts literally in the world, including Bill Bengen, who was the originator of the safe withdrawal rate of 4% for 30 years. That was the most important piece of safe withdrawal literature ever and has been followed by the vast majority of financial advisors for 40 years. I got him on the team. And then I also got Burton Malkiel, who wrote A Random Walk Down Wall Street that sold over 2 million copies. A generally financially successful book might sell 10,000 copies. And then he just did the 50th edition in his 90s, still sharp as a tack. And we have some footage of each of them. But anyway, we're going to go into what the safe withdrawal rate, how it works, and why one of the reasons I was so attracted to this whole field is so most of my clients are fiscally conservative, and I certainly understand that, and they spend far less than they could afford to. I mean, even people much more, not nearly as fiscally conservative as their parents, who might have lived through the Depression and they taught our clients, but they have spent far less than they can afford to. And I have, for literally more than 30 years, encouraged them, no, you can afford to spend more money. Help your kids out while they are young. Help your grandkids with their education. Put in money for your kids' retirement plans. Take your kids on a family vacation. For those of you who have been following me, you'll know that this is very familiar. But now Bill Bengen, the originator of the safe withdrawal rate, updates his analysis and actually gives us an update that is helping me prove what I've wanted for my clients all along, is to how to, without running the risk of running out of money, how they could spend more money. So when he came out with this, I was very attracted to it. I had actually interviewed him, I think back in 1991. Um, and, he did a great interview back then. And now, well into his 80s, I said, hey, would you be willing to be interviewed again? And we've kind of formed an association. He's given me license to some of his unique material that I am using for both this webinar and for other purposes, and it's on my website. So I'm really excited about this. And I think that this is one of those issues that can make a huge difference in the quality of your child's life. And we do a lot of work in this, incorporating Bill Bengen's recommendations, as well as we use other techniques also. But we're going to mainly concentrate on Bill's recommendations and his research. And we're going to add something that Bill added that hardly anybody talks about, which is your unique time horizon. So Bill's original research assumed a 30-year retirement. Well, not everybody has a 30-year investment horizon. Maybe you're older and you might have a 10-year or a 20-year time horizon, or you're younger and you have a 40 or 50-year time horizon. What Bill had not provided up until recently is what is your personal safe withdrawal rate given your personal time horizon. So we're going to cover that today. We're going to talk about a spending plan and keeping it on track among marketing uncertainty. That's why I wanted to bring in some of the things that Burton Malkiel talked about. And Burton is as good as you can get on staying in the market and the value of staying invested in the market. So we're going to hear from him directly. Well, not live, but a video that he did. And by the way, I have a ton of Burton Malkiel interviews. So I've interviewed him multiple times. One time it was, I think, 3 days in a row for an hour straight. So we have a lot of footage. And again, he's the guy who wrote A Random Walk Down Wall Street, 2 million copies, and he just came out with the 50th anniversary so that's how long he's been around doing this of that book. I think he did about 13 editions. Um, and this is, I think, the 14th, but it's the 50th anniversary. And he has propelled the financial industry in general. We're also going to talk about an area that is particularly valuable that I take a great interest in, which is what are some of the non-portfolio income sources that you can consider, what you can do to enhance that, and then how much you can afford to spend. And then, as Erica mentioned, we're going to have both Dom and Jen, both just phenomenal number crunchers who work on our team, who actually will do the majority of the work if you choose to work with us. Both of them are superstars in their own right. And hearing from them on some of the quantitative issues is just wonderful. All right, so what is the safe withdrawal rate? Well, basically, it's how much money you can withdraw from your portfolio measured as a percentage of your portfolio without running out of money. Now, nothing's ever going to be 100%. So we're going to assume that it's the actual worst time in let's say since we've been keeping track of this, and that's going to be our benchmark. So what we're going to be presenting is actually very, very conservative. But a short example, you have $1 million portfolio. Using the old 4% rate, you could safely withdraw 4% or $40,000. So one of the big things that Bill Bengen did is he says, okay, we're going to give you a raise from 4% over a 30-year investment horizon to 47%. I'm sorry, 4.7%. So again, taking that $1 million, you multiply that times 4.7%. So you're going from $40,000 to $47,000, and we'll get into why he is giving us this raise, but it is significant. Then in subsequent years, you can take that amount, say that $47,000, and then adjust that for the actual inflation rate. So if inflation is 3%, then you could take out $50,000, even if the investment went up or down. And it's particularly important if that went down. So let's say you're starting at $1 million, you're starting at 47,000, then the investment takes a 10% hit, so now your investment is now 900,000. You can still take 4.7% plus inflation in year 2, and then in year 3 you could take 4.7% plus 2 years of inflation, even if the investment went down again, and you're still within, and again, who's to say that we're not going to have the worst year ever, but using the worst year since we've been keeping track of this as the benchmark. So that's pretty safe, and we'll get into more of how safe that is. But you could repeat this pattern for 30 years. So one of the things that people do wrong, and I might as well let you hear it directly from Bill Bengen himself. So this is a clip, from Bill Bengen, who again I interviewed in '91, and I am a big fan of his work, and he was a big fan of the way I brought some of the things in his book, particularly the safe withdrawal for different years, which is very unique. But why don't we hear from Bill himself? And since it was a little bit hard to understand everything that Bill said, I kind of rephrased some of it just for emphasis. So anyway, here is the top expert in the world on safe withdrawal rate. And maybe, Eric, if you can play that clip, I would appreciate it. Let me ask you another question. What are some of the common mistakes that you see people make when applying the safe withdrawal concept?
Yeah, I think the first one is they hear the number 4% and they think that means 4% of your portfolio balance each year. It doesn't, as we explained earlier, it's 4% the first year, then throw the 4% away and just give yourself a costing of living increase, as with Social Security. That's probably the greatest source of misconception.
All right, so I'm
sorry.
I'm going to restate what I think is your answer, because I think it is so important. So basically, let's just say for discussion's sake, you retire at $1 million, 30 years, 4.7, $47,000 less the taxes. Let's say that the market does very well, and that a year later, the market did, let's just say 10%, and now you're at 1.1 million. You're still doing the 4.7% of the million, not of the 1.1 million. Is that right?
Yeah, you're not changing because each successive year, it does involve the portfolio value. The second year on just means adding a dollar amount to the withdrawal. So you're not changing anything about the original assumptions.
All right, so let's go the other way. Let's say that we have a loss. So this is going to be the tougher question. And let's make it even worse. Let's assume you start at $1 million, you take out 4.7, and then whether it's COVID or whatever it is, you have a drop of 20%. Okay? So now instead of having $1 million, you're at 800,000. Are you saying you can still take out 4% of the million plus inflation?
Yeah, that's correct. The calculations I do include the possibility of significant bear markets in retirement, which can reduce withdrawal rates. So there's no need to take action because the stock market usually recovers strongly, and you'll return to plan.
All right. Does everybody in the room understand this? Because I think he has pointed out the exact mistake that so many people make. Do you get that? If the market goes down, you can still take out your 4.7 plus inflation. Well, so let me ask you this. Let's say that you were retiring today, and let's say that you had a $1 million portfolio. Would you actually do what you are recommending, or would you be more conservative or more aggressive? So what would you be doing if you were a retiree? And again, we'll use your 5-year buffer, thinking a 25-year portfolio, adding 5 years on, coming up with 4.7. Is that what you would do, or would you do something different?
Yeah, I would. If I was retiring today, I would be probably looking at something closer to 5.5%. Because I don't think we face the dire circumstances that the 1968 retiree fixed. And to that extent, I do eat my own cookie. When I retired 12 years ago, my number was 4.5%, not 4.7, and that's what I started with. And of course, the stock market done so well since then, I was actually able to increase my withdrawals.
Oh, wait, that sounds like you're not doing what you said you were going to do. Because you just said you were going to increase your withdrawals if the market went up.
Well, if it goes up consistently, this is the experience that people in the early 1980s had. They came into a market which was very cheap and had certain withdrawal rates, but because of the huge bull market, the 18 years that followed that nobody expected, they were able to increase their withdrawal rate significantly later in life. So it's not completely independent of what the stock market does, but if the stock market looks like it's done very well, much better than expected for a much longer period of time than expected, you probably are right considering an increase in withdrawal rates.
One of the things that I want to do is I tried to cover what I thought was important. And by the way, you did a great job because I went way off script a number of times. I should say I don't like to zing people, so I sent Bill a set of questions, said, hey, is it okay? But as he gave answers, I changed the script quite a bit. Is there something that I didn't say or didn't ask that you want to tell this group of very interested listeners?
I think my primary message there would be to regard planning for retirement income as basically a process involving a number of steps. You can't skip steps. For example, in my book, I begin with what I call the 8 elements, which you can use to customize your plan. That includes asset allocation, the length of your withdrawals, the type of account. And then to get to your number, which is the last part of the puzzle, you have to take inflation and stock market valuation into account as they are when you retire. And those factors together determine what your withdrawal rate will be.
All right, well, this has been wonderful. So you heard it directly from Bill, and interestingly enough, even though he's the one who came up with the rules, he is giving himself license to be flexible, and he is saying that his conservative numbers are really conservative. So, he said that he, instead of spending 4.7, he would spend 5.1 or 5.2. And if the market does, well for a long time, he's not saying that this is void completely of judgment. But anyway, I think that is. Let me ask you another. I think that is really important. Anyway, Bill's original and his current research is literally groundbreaking, and it's very well regarded because, again, he's looking at the real worst case market scenarios. He did a conservative baseline for a 30-year retirement built on real data, not models, not guessing, not Monte Carlo. This is what actually happened in the real world. And then you might say, well, gee, it used to be 4%, now it's 4.7% for 30 years. How did he get to that? Well, interestingly, the main thing that he did was he changed the assumptions. So his original work assumed 50% US stock, 50% US bonds. Well, that's not the way people are investing today. What they're really doing is they're having a better diversified portfolio. And without getting into the details right now, if you have this better diversified portfolio, you can go from 4 to 4.7, which, by the way, that if you think about it, that's 40,000. It used to be, now 47,000. That's 7,000. If you take the 7,000 divided into the 40,000, that's a 17.5% raise. So this is not a little deal. This is a big deal. And it's, Bill didn't get he didn't get as much notoriety for his new book as I thought that he deserved. And frankly, I am a champion of it. I thought so highly of it. For those of you who are asset under management clients, I already sent it out to all my clients. I also sent it to the tax clients, and I sent it to a bunch of other people too, just because I thought it was so valuable. So of course I send out my own books, but I also send out other people's books too. And I think that this is one of the most valuable contributions to the financial literature in a generation. So Bill assumes a 30-year investment time horizon. All right. And earlier, I just kind of went over this quickly. He likes to take your life expectancy going from, let's say it's you and your spouse. He will say, okay, what's the joint life expectancy, meaning who's going to live the longer of the two of you? And let's just say, for discussion's sake, that you're in your mid-60s or even 70, and you say, well, gee, our life expectancy, the survivor if you're stretching it a little bit, maybe they'll live till 95. He still wants to be conservative and say, okay, let's go from 95 or a 25-year to a 30-year. All right. So he wants to add that buffer. But he also applies a new chart that examines time horizons from 3-year investment horizon to 50 years. And this is much more realistic because most of us don't have exactly a 30-year time horizon. We have a shorter time horizon for those of us who are older or have health problems, or maybe we're younger, or maybe we're longevity folks and we get up in the morning and meditate and then have wheatgrass and then take a jog to our 95-year-old parents who are out in the garden in perfect health, and maybe you go longer. So if you have reason to believe you have a shorter or longer time horizon, you now have an opportunity from Bill's research of saying, okay, what is the updated percentage of your safe withdrawal rate? And again, he is basing this on the experience of the people who retired at the worst time in recorded U.S. history, which was October 1968. By the way, we had the double dip of a big market drop right after that, then followed by some pretty nasty inflation. So he's saying he doesn't think that that's going to happen again, but his formal recommendation is let's assume the very worst. All right. So again, you take your life expectancy, if married, your joint life expectancy, add, let's say, to be conservative, maybe an additional 5 years, maybe if you want to be real conservative, 10 years, and then find your time horizon on the chart, find the corresponding percentage, multiply that percentage by your portfolio. So let's do that chart. And by the way, if you look at the chart, it's the same data as the book, but the book was much more confusing. So we actually kind of redesigned the chart. And then I've seen it in the literature. He gave me permission, obviously, and then I gave him permission to use the redesigned one. But anyway, you could see in the purple, 30 years, 4.676 rounded off to 4.7. But what if you have, say, a 25-year horizon? Well, go to the chart and see. I don't know if you can see it if it's too small for you, but and by the way, I think that this is part of your bonus, this chart, an explanation of it. You go to the 25, you get to 4.962. So let's round that off to 5%. Now you have the million times the 5%. So now you have a $50,000 safe withdrawal, where a lot of times in the past, you might have just been thinking 40,000. So that's a 20% raise, if you will. So this is really important, and it's really important for your own comfort, your own safety, and for that of your family. I've been talking about for years about how Walter Weinstein would sponsor these family vacations. And I think he intuitively recognized that he wasn't going to run out of money. And rather than waiting until he died and leaving a lot of money to his heirs, that he would use this money effectively to increase the quality of life and to have these binding family ties. We're kind of a clan. And my daughter, she feels very close to her cousins, and that's very important. And if she had only seen them at other times in their lives, like, weddings and funerals and bar bat mitzvahs, it would be a much different relationship than seeing them every year and hanging out with them for 5 years, having all the meals together, hanging out in the day together, playing games at night together. And the Weinsteins are a family of gamesters, both board games and word games. And it's just meant so much. And he intuitively spent more to enrich his family. Okay. And I think I just did these slides. 20-year life expectancy, 25 year, add 5, 25 years, 4.962, round to 5. 5% times a million. So Bill's strategy, it is conservative. All right. He even said if it was him, he would go even above the 4.7, even with a 30-year life expectancy. Um, and we'll talk, and I know that there's a lot of people, including my wife, by the way, who thinks that we're in unprecedented times and the market's going to go to you know where. I don't want to say a bad word, and is really reluctant. And we're going to have Burton Malkiel come on and say why that is an overblown fear. In fact, my wife actually transferred 20% out of the market, and I'll confess to transferring 5% out of the market relatively soon after President Trump was elected. And frankly, both of us were punished because the market went up uh, substantially since the time that we took money out of the market. So staying in the market is also one of Bill's assumptions and is probably a smart thing to do. And then as soon as I say that, then the market and you listen, then the market, of course, is going to go down. But anyway, Bill's strategy, it does provide peace of mind. He's not trying to maximize every dollar. He's coming up with a safe, relatively conservative asset allocation recommendation, and then telling you how much money you can safely withdraw without running out of money. To be fair, no system is immune. A historically unprecedented sequence of poor returns could disrupt even the most robust model. And Bill acknowledges this himself. And by the way, this isn't the only safe withdrawal method. There are others. Bill actually includes in his book some of the other popular ones. So he's not saying I'm the only one that has a clue. And when we do our analysis for our firm, we do use Bill's, but we also use more than one, which often ends up being relatively similar. But again, we want to err on the side of safety, but not be so safe that we're missing opportunities to live as well as we could, to help our kids when they're young instead of after they die, to pay for family vacations, and to enjoy some of the things that you could be capable of enjoying that you probably have not done out of general conservatism, whether you want to call it depression era mentality, etc. So here I'm trying to add some quantitative, historically sound reasoning why you could afford to spend more. And even if you don't, at least not worry about money. I want you to spend more and not worry about money. And Bill, by the way, is by far the best known safe withdrawal expert. If you look at almost any article written in the last 30 years, virtually every one of them cites his original research, and his analysis has survived for over 30 years. So when he came out with this update, to me, this was very, very big news. All right. Well, what if the market crashes? All right. And I get it, and particularly for a lot of people who are not President Trump fans, many of you think, well, he's going to do something so stupid that the market is going to really crash horrendously. And I'm not going to say that there's no chance of that, but I will say, and this is Burton Malkiel's point, is that we have seen much worse historically, although it doesn't feel like it. We've survived two world wars. We've survived massive inflation. We've survived, the huge bubble. And in order for you not to take Bill's advice, it has to be even much worse than that. And believe me, Burton Malkiel is no Trump fan, but he does say that you can still use the same. He's not as worried about a market that will crash and stay down for many years. That's not saying that he doesn't think it could go down, but he will say that it will go up, and to stay invested primarily in the market. And I know that a lot of you say, oh, today's market is different. Look at Venezuela, look at Minneapolis, look at what's going on around the country, look at AI. We're going to get a big AI bubble, all that kind of thing. And well, I guess when Bert did his analysis, we hadn't had Minneapolis then. Um, and I guess we didn't have Venezuela to be fair, but we had lots of other stuff that a lot of people don't think was so wonderful. And he was still sticking by his analysis. We did have the tariffs. We did have the massive increase in national debt, the massive increase with the geopolitical risks. Um, and you can be wondering, saying, gee, can I afford to stay invested? So rather, like I said, we're bringing a team. Burton Malkiel is, probably the original top investment guru in the world. Uh, what who was the CEO of Vanguard, and he just did so much wonderful work. Um, and by the way, I interviewed him also twice on the radio, and I actually have an hour of footage of me. But anyway, next to him, I think Burton Malkiel is probably considered like the top expert, and particularly known as an index guy. So anyway, let's hear what Burton has to say. Do we risk, though, that we are in an era where, for example, obviously a lot of people are worried about the dollar, and gold is at an all-time high. So that would be one way of, quote, having a safer portfolio. And now if you were to buy gold at its high point, you could get clobbered later on. So do we have a worry that because of, let's call it, the irrational exuberance of certain things, that we could get into things that might seem attractive or more attractive, but end up getting hurt?
Absolutely. First of all, common stocks have proved to be a better inflation hedge over history than gold. So I'm not a gold bug. I understand why people have used gold as an inflation hedge, and it is, but I'd rather be in common stocks than gold because common stocks represent real assets, real businesses, real factories, and they will be a better inflation hedge in the future, I believe, than gold will be. And with respect to irrational exuberance, which you bring up, I think people should be reminded of the fact that the last big bubble that we had, well, the last one was a housing bubble. The bubble before the housing bubble was the internet bubble in the late 1990s. And many of the investors will remember that the stock market did decline by just about 50% in the early 2000s. And they will also remember that the person who first made us aware that we were really having enormous risk because we were in a bubble was Alan Greenspan, the head of the Federal Reserve. And that term that you just used, irrational exuberance, was a term used by Alan Greenspan to describe the stock market and the worries about the stock market. So you can then say, well, gee whiz, maybe what we should have done was listen to Alan Greenspan when he coined the term irrational exuberance. And there's possibly some irrational exuberance now, maybe a lot of irrational exuberance. So that's a good reason to sell, because after all, afterwards, the market went down 50%. What people may not remember is that Alan Greenspan made that speech in 1996. The market peaked in March of 2000. The market went way up. If you bought instead of sold the day after Alan Greenspan's irrational exuberance speech, you would have done extremely well. And in fact, if you had bought and held on till today, you would have had even a higher than 10% rate of return. Don't try to time the market. Even if you absolutely believe we were in an irrational exuberance era, if you believe that the hype on AI is overhyped, maybe it is, don't try to time the market. You will just get hurt.
Okay, so you heard probably the top living expert. By the way, I had a little bit of a senior moment there. I forgot Jack Bogle's name. He was the founder of Vanguard, the longtime CEO.
Did we miss that?
So, and probably the most famous low cost index uh, expert in the world. And by the way, I interviewed him twice. The first time I interviewed him was on the radio show, but he was aging at that point. His office was in Malvern, Pennsylvania, which is near Philly. I live in Pittsburgh, so I thought, I should go do this in person. So I drove to Malvern. He was kind enough to let me interview him with video at the Vanguard studio, and I now have more than an hour of footage of me interviewing Jack Bogle. And he was kind enough to say at the end, when I usually ended my interview, anything else? He said, yeah, the financial advisor is a valuable piece of work, using his exact words. And I actually feel privileged to have interviewed him twice, and I've interviewed Burton Malkiel for hours and hours. But anyway, Bert's research saying that staying in the market is great. In fact, the example that he gave, he said, if you bought right before the market went down by 50% and you hung in there, that you would have still ended up earning well over 10%. So this is part of related to safe withdrawal. It's safe withdrawal is not assuming that you are timing the market, and I think that is important. So, and the other thing that Bert didn't on this clip that he points out in terms of market timing, you have to be right twice. You have to be right on the right time to get out and the right time to get back in. And guess what? They don't ring a bell at the top or the bottom of the market. And I understand fear-based exits is common. I have a lot of clients who are fearing that right now. But that can undermine a well-designed retirement plan. So hopefully the 4.7 works with staying invested in a well-diversified portfolio. So, of course, that still has to fit the stomach test, but I would say that would be your starting point. And if you want to be more conservative because of your stomach and you can afford to be, then that is okay too. But don't let the headlines hijack your retirement assumptions. So I would say that the the safe withdrawal rate is important, but it's only really one piece of the retirement income puzzle. Getting Social Security right, um, taking, you don't want to ignore your pension. And for most people who have a fixed pension, you have to take into account the pension, but you have to reduce the purchasing power of the pension by likely inflation. If you have rental income, obviously, or real estate income, you obviously take that into account. If you're still working either full-time or part-time, don't ignore that. And then there's things that you can do. For example, you can optimize your Social Security. We used to do workshops just on Social Security optimization. You'll hear a little bit about some of the home equity options, or maybe you're not. I've actually cut that section out because people don't like to do that. But by the way, I had a whole section on how you could potentially spend more money if you don't ignore the equity of your home. If you have $1 million paid off home, you could take out substantially more money to spend because you have a backup. Because if needed, you could even get maybe a home equity loan, or in the extreme case, a reverse mortgage, or don't do any of those things. Just knowing that you have a backup can allow you to spend more. We're going to have a case study on partial annuitization. We're going to talk a little bit about withdrawal sequencing and which assets you should spend first. Obviously, Roth conversions are very important. The last session is going to be for the cascading beneficiary plan. This is just a Social Security analysis. I'm going to do the very quick version, which shows that the quote math of taking it early at 62 versus waiting till 70, the break-even point is age 82. On the other hand, by waiting, you're literally a couple $100,000 better off in your lifetime. And you're also guaranteeing, because if you are married, that the survivor gets the higher of the two Social Securities. So even if you die early and your spouse survives and your Social Security was higher than hers, subject to exception, he or she will take the higher of the two. So that's another reason to wait. And then there is a synergy between holding off on Social Security and doing Roth conversions, not independent. And by the way, if you do the analysis, which we have, Steve Coleman did this analysis, is you're better off literally by millions of getting these two things right. That is holding off on Social Security and doing a series of Roth conversions, which we consider a synergistic calculation. I mentioned very briefly reverse mortgages and HELOCs. The idea is to create cash flow without selling investments. And the best fit are homeowners that are 62 or older with paid off or low income balances. I said I was going to repeat those, so I am going to skip those. But I will just say that has to pass the stomach test. And again, I only have so much time but anyway, so I'm going to skip all those sections, which somehow ended up in this PowerPoint. But we're going to talk, Dom is going to give us a little discussion about annuitizing. And you might not expect the great French writer Voltaire to give financial advice, but he did. And the advice that Voltaire offers for people who are considering annuitizing or have annuitized is, I advise you to go on living solely to enrage those who are paying your annuities. So anyway, maybe Jen will give a real quick introduction to Dom, and then Dom will give us some quantitative analysis of when annuitizing really worked out. And again, the idea here is that you could spend more money during your lifetime.
Yes, thanks so much, Jim. And I'm just going to do a brief introduction of Dom. Some of you on the webinar may already know him very well. He might be your tax preparer. He might be your advisor as an AUM client. But Dom has been with us for several years, and he is a great CPA. Uh, Dominic Bonaccorsi, he's one of our firm's top tax and retirement planning experts. Before joining us more than 3 years ago, Dom spent a decade preparing complex tax returns at both large national accounting firms and a respected boutique practice here in Pittsburgh, where he was on the partnership track. What drew him to our firm was his passion for proactive planning, using tax strategy not just to report history, but to shape better financial outcomes for our clients. So I'm going to hand it over to you there, Dom.
Thank you, Erica, for the introduction. And just to piggyback off what she said, I did start in public accounting, crunching numbers and doing tax returns. But what really drew me into Jim's firm is what we're doing here today, the proactive planning. We're looking at least a year in advance, typically more, several years in advance. Typical CPA firms in our area and probably all over the country for this target market, I think it's safe to say a lot of them don't do this kind of planning. So ironically, what drew me into Jim's firm is what is drawing you guys in into the call today. So with that, I am going to jump into the slides here. Give me a second to get set up. Okay. So the next several slides here are going to cover annuitization of a TIAA traditional assets for our professor clients or anybody in the audience who has those. This will directly affect you. And how these assets can provide a fixed income stream over time. Some of these clients, I've worked with a few recently that actually use this as a hedge against market downturns, which is topical and on a lot of people's minds at this point. So how does this work? An annuity is basically provides an income stream for a predetermined period of time, typically over the longer of one life, 2 lives, or guaranteed number of years. These TIA traditional contracts are pretty complex and come in several different flavors. So if you do have one and want us to take a look at it before you make any decisions, we'd be happy to take a look. In return for the income stream that you get, you do give up that portion of assets within your portfolio. So just to illustrate this here, we have a case study for you today. We have Evelyn. She was 85 years old. She annuitized $500,000 from her TIAA traditional assets. She chose a single life annuity, and that provided her an annualized income stream of $87,564, which is very strong. Just some background information on we changed the name of this person for this case study, obviously, but Evelyn was very nervous about market performance over the next couple of years, and she wanted a fixed stream of income to help guarantee that she could meet her expenses. She's not married and doesn't have any kids, which is one of the reasons why she chose a single life annuity. If God forbid she would pass away in the next year or two, then that income stream would stop. And had she had children or something, they would have been disinherited. But for her case, this wasn't a concern. Taxpayers with children might do a slightly different strategy, but this worked very well for Evelyn, and again provided a very strong income stream for her. We have a second case study here for comparison, and it's a similar fact pattern actually. Linda's a little bit younger, but she annuitized around same amount, $500,000 of TIAA traditional assets. Again, for this case study, we assume that she was single and no children, so she did choose the single life annuity. And because she was younger, obviously the annuitized income stream is a little bit less, but still very strong for her. One of the concerns for her was, she was nervous about market risk, and she wanted to create an income stream that can help her meet her basic necessities, food, clothing, and shelter. So this $500,000 that she traded for this annuity, combined with her Social Security, was going to provide her, more than enough to cover her basic essentials. Which, as Jim spoke earlier, peace of mind is big, and this annuity provided just that for her, peace of mind. I think I got ahead of myself here. One common strategy for our clients is to annuitize just enough to cover the basic essentials, like I just said, combined with Social Security. That fixed TIAA income can be added on top of that, and whatever happens with the market, if it goes up, down, or sideways, it doesn't really much matter for these folks. And these TIAA traditional annuities operate similar to buying an immediate annuity, where you trade a lump sum of assets for an income stream. We do generally prefer the TIAA traditional annuities to commercial annuities for reasons that are probably beyond the scope of this webinar. And that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you. It's back to you, Jim.
All right. Well, thank you then, Dom. And as Dom pointed out, the examples he gave were people who happened to be in the TIAA community. On the other hand, immediate annuities is something that anybody could do. And while the TIAA ones have a slightly higher rate of return, anybody can do these immediate annuities and in effect annuitize like Voltaire recommended and that Dom was talking about. So I think that is an important point. Although TIAA, for those of us or for those who are either professors or were in a TIAA organization, maybe you're a teacher, maybe you're a policeman, maybe you work for a nonprofit, maybe you work for a hospital. It's a huge market, by the way. It's another $1 trillion market. And even though I wrote this book specifically for professors and TIAA participants, the truth is 90% of this book, which is one of your bonuses, has nothing to do with TIAA or being a professor. It's mainly an IRA book. But anyway, so the other thing that I had said earlier is some of the things that you can do for tax efficiency. And that question came up earlier, and I didn't even think of this area of tax efficiency, which is, let's assume that you have a variety of types of assets. All right, let's say for discussion's sake that you are getting income, dividends, interest, Social Security, pension, etc. Let's assume that you have some high basis assets, meaning that you bought it for not much a long time ago, and if you were to sell it today, you'd have a high capital gain. Let's say you have some low basis assets, meaning you bought it more recently, and if you sold it, you wouldn't have a big gain. Let's say you have some IRA and retirement assets, and then let's say you have some combination of low and high basis assets. Let's say you also have some Roth IRAs. What is subject to exception, because there's always exceptions, what is typically the best order for you to spend? Well, first would be your current income. Then you would most likely want to spend the after-tax dollars that has a high basis, meaning that you're not going to trigger a large capital gain when you sell it. Then, and this is actually a little nuance, IRAs, and depending on your situation, to the top of a particular tax bracket. So, I used to just say always spend your IRA first, but when we did a hard look, maybe up to the top of a particular bracket. Then the low basis, which is triggering the capital gain. And one of the reasons that we like to hold on to that, might be more interested in spending the high to going up to the IRAs is because we also have the possibility of the step up in basis rules, which is another whole discussion, which unfortunately we don't have time for today. Then we have IRAs, then Roth IRAs. So I will also mention one other thing about Roth IRA conversions that I probably should have in the past. So I have a lot of experience with Roth IRA conversions. I wrote the first peer review article. I've written multiple books. Practically all of them since 1998 have had major sections on Roth IRA conversions. We've run the number for literally thousands of people. I hardly ever see anybody spend their Roth. And part of it is for the same reason I'm recommending here that we don't spend our Roth until last. And the other thing is it's such a good asset to leave behind. I know, frankly, in my own situation, my wife has a $2 million Roth. She would rather eat rice and beans before she spent a nickel of that money because in her mind, that is for our daughter. And interestingly, a lot of people feel that way. I don't quite feel that way, although in my mind, that money is going for our daughter. Well, it's more important because she has a disability. But anyway, this is a way to, let's say, get even more. And then we're going to have our other superstar number crunching CPA who has just done such wonderful work for us. And by the way, Dom and Jen do all my work more than I do my work. And both Jen and Dom were major contributors, especially Jen. She did a lot of number crunching for both of my recent books. Well, for professors, but really anybody with an IRA, and then for parents of a child with a disability. After Jen is done presenting, then we're going to take questions, and then maybe hopefully Jen and Dom will do some of the answers to the questions. But why don't I hand it over to Jen?
Thanks,
Yes,
Jim.
and I'm going to jump in really quickly.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry. Why don't I hand it over to Erica, who will do a brief introduction to Jen, and then Jen.
Yes. We have a really busy webinar today. So I'd like to introduce Jen Hall. She's one of our most seasoned and insightful financial professionals. Jen brings over 30 years of deep experience in tax and financial planning. She's also served as the lead number cruncher on, well, both this book and Retire Secure for professors and TIA participants. And her quantitative acumen is matched by her unique ability to translate complex concepts into clear and actionable strategies. Jen?
Thanks, Erica. I appreciate it. I'm happy to join all of you today and present something to you. Jim has provided you with a lot of different concepts and strategies to help you in your long-term retirement planning. And one of the case studies that I'm going to talk about today is combining several of those strategies and what that means to your overall long-range planning. And I think you're going to be quite surprised with the outcome of these different strategies. So let me just bring up some slides to share with you. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're going to talk about us being status quo versus what it would be like if we implemented the strategies that Jim spoke about during session 1 and also some of the strategies he spoke about in session 2. So our case study is going to be, we're going to talk about Joe and Fran Jason. They're ages 65 and 63. They're both still working. Joe is earning about 160,000 for 3 years, and Fran is earning 165,000. Their portfolio is about 3 million in assets, 2.2 million are in pre-tax retirement accounts, 500,000 is in a brokerage account, and they have 285,000 in Roth money. So we can see from this example already high concentration in pre-tax retirement accounts. It's more than 50% of their total asset base. They plan on retiring at ages 69 and 67. Their spending is 10,000 a month or 120,000 a year. And when we are doing these projections, we're using a 6.5% rate of return and a 3.5% inflation rate for a net rate of return of 3% more than inflation. One thing to note, we always provide our projections in inflation adjusted dollars because we want to account for the long-term erosion of inflation. If we didn't do that, if we didn't present it in inflation adjusted dollars, we would be presenting an incomplete or a financial plan that may be potentially misleading. So that's why we always like to present our projections in inflation adjusted dollars, reflecting pure purchasing power. So what does status quo look like in this example? So status quo is when both couples decide to claim Social Security at their full retirement age, which is around 67. They are contributing all their pre-tax retirement account money while they're working to a pre-tax retirement account and not to a Roth account, because they're both thinking we're still working, we're in the highest tax rate we're going to be, so we should take advantage of that and receive that tax deduction for those retirement plan contributions. And they're also thinking, well, we're not going to do any Roth conversions because we are still working and we have enough money that maybe Roth conversions aren't going to have a huge impact on our long range planning. So given those set of circumstances, what does it look like when we make some recommendations? Well, the first recommendation, and Jim already spoke about that earlier, is we're going to have that higher earning spouse defer collecting Social Security until they're age 70. And as Jim explained, it's important to do that so that when one spouse does predecease another, the other spouse has that higher Social Security check, because you're already reduced down to one Social Security check. So you want to make sure that you're having the highest. So that 8% bump per year makes a big difference on the long range planning. We also, in this example, it made sense for the couple who was still working to make their contributions to the retirement accounts on a Roth basis and not a pre-tax basis, which goes contrary to what some people may think. But what we found is sometimes in retirement, your tax rate is the same as when you were working, because now you have these larger RMDs. So we do test the best time to make Roth conversions. And in this example, we did make a series of Roth conversions. We did Roth conversions of between, I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry about that. First of all, we also recommended 3 years worth of backdoor Roth conversions. So they did that every year, and those contributions were made on a pre-tax basis. So also included in this analysis in getting the optimal strategy for this particular case is we did a number of Roth conversions at varying amounts. They weren't the same amount every year. Some were 50,000, some were 200,000, and some were 100,000. So we had to test them to see what made the most sense. So once we take all these different strategies together that we've discussed one-on-one during our presentation, what does the outcome, what does that look like? So I'm going to show you a graph, which I think you're going to be pretty surprised about. So here is the result of status quo versus strategy. And in Joe and Fran's case, it meant 3.7 million when they were later, when they were dying at age 90, what that meant to their heirs, whether it be their children or other relatives or charity. And the ending result was 3.7 million, which is quite substantial. I'm always amazed when I see what the outcome is and what the impact on the long range planning for the family. As Jim talked about, he looks at Cindy, Jim, and Erica as one unit. So when they're doing their planning, they're not only planning for today, they're planning 30 years from now into their retirement, but also an additional 30 years for Erica's retirement. So planning does get pretty important. Joe and Fran's example is just one illustration of the impact strategic planning can make. But by getting things right, getting your planning right, you get to enjoy a better retirement, you get to enjoy your wealth better, have more peace of mind because you're protecting your legacy and you are reducing taxes that you pay over your lifetime. I think we can all agree that we don't want to rush to pay Uncle Sam the most amount of money. That doesn't make sense. But saving taxes over your lifetime does have a huge impact on your legacy. And I love this particular example of Joe and Fran because it shows you that impact on the value between just maintaining status quo and implementing solid strategies. So I think it's pretty significant, and it's something that everyone should look at and consider, and not think that it doesn't have a big impact, because it's pretty powerful. So I'm going to go back to you, Jim, but thank you for letting me present this case study to you.
Well, thank you to Jen and Dawn, but don't go away, because I thought now would be a good chance to throw it open for questions, and not just for me, but we'll see how fast Jen and Dawn can think on their feet. We don't have, well, I don't know, maybe Erica does have one or two. Oh, you might have one, but I don't think that you shared it with Jen and Dawn. So I think that this would be them thinking on their feet. I might throw in, and by the way, they might say something different. And I should also say something is, we don't have the Jim Lange method of running numbers or preparing tax returns. Jen has her own style. Jen tends to be on the conservative side. I'll be thinking, oh man, you're going to save $1 million. And Jen's, well, I don't want to say that until I run the number. She's very, let's say, controlled and ordered, and is not a sensationalist. Dom is rock solid. By the way, he does my tax return. And Jen and Dom, the truth is, if you gave your tax return the identical information to 10 different CPAs, you would get 10 different tax returns. There have been studies on that. That's just the way it is. So everybody's a little different. So they might answer the questions a little differently. So this will be the free falling part of the workshop for Jen and Dom, and maybe me. But Erica, why don't you give us your best shot?
Great. So first, I just want to thank both Jen and Dom for presenting the sections, and also to tell the audience we have a real opportunity here, Jen and Dom and Jim together. So if you have any questions from this session or last session that didn't get answered, please put them into the Q&A. Questions are wonderful. We really appreciate them. And the first very interesting question that I would like to ask comes from Vic, and he says, regarding the safe withdrawal rate and Bengen's updated analysis, what if a retiree is already a few years into retirement? How do they apply this framework differently than somebody who's just retiring today? And that is a question that I feel like is a really interesting one, and also one that maybe some of our retiree or some of our viewers who are already retired might be already asking themselves, like, how do I apply? How does the the safe withdrawal rate, the new year one calculation work for somebody who's already been withdrawing from their portfolio for a few years?
Well, do either of you guys want to take that one?
I mean, Jim, I thought the only thing that I would add to that is you follow the graph in terms of what your life expectancy is. And as you said, add 5 years.
But
So
I
you
think
look,
that's I think the question was, sorry, but I think I understand what they're asking, which is so that would give you the number that would give you would be like you're supposed to use the value of your portfolio on the day that you retired to calculate this, right? And so the number that it gives you is the number that you should have taken out in year one. So how would you, if you were, say, 5 years into retirement, how would you look at that? Like, and you've already been withdrawing a certain amount of money that probably doesn't match that number for year one. How would you transpose those? Does that make any sense?
Well, yeah, the question makes sense, which is okay, Bill Bengen's analysis is starting on day one of retirement. Well, let's say you're 5 years into retirement, and let's even just say you still have a 30-year investment horizon and that the corresponding number is 4.7. Do you do that, or do you go back 5 years before you retired and look at that number? And then, as you pointed out, Erica, it's very unlikely that you actually spent that exact amount. I think if we're going to be true to what Bill Bengen said, he would go back to your actual retirement date, notwithstanding the fact that you didn't take out the exact amount that he is recommending. On the other hand, you heard him in person, is that, hey, this isn't a pure mechanical calculation. And he even said if he was retiring today, he would take out more. I don't know if Jen or Dom want to say anything, or I'll throw it out to Jen or Dom, because I know that in addition to Bill Bengen's analysis, that at least Jen and I believe Dom also have their own way of calculating safe withdrawal. So, Jen, do you want to comment on that?
yes. So what we normally do is we calculate your what it looks like in the long-term projections using a very low rate of return of 4.5% inflation, or 4.5% rate of return, less 3.5% inflation, for a net rate of return of 1% more than inflation. Then we run those numbers out through the end of what we usually use as age 100 for the youngest spouse, and until they run out of the money. And we use that number, and then we rerun it using 6.5% rate of return, 3.5% inflation rate. I've actually done a side-by-side comparison of how we do it along with Bill Bengen's 4.7% rule. I've done it also with the 4% rule too, just to see how it marries up. It's pretty darn close. So I was quite pleased to see how close it was.
Yeah, and so was I. And by the way, um, Jen actually ran those numbers both ways for me. And, so my wife and I, by the way, almost every couple, there's somebody that likes to spend more and somebody that likes to spend less. I'm one of those that likes to spend more. My wife is one of those that likes to spend less. And she was saying, "Oh yeah, well that's what Bill Bengen's way of doing it. What if we did a different way?" And then Jen came up with more or less the same answer. And I was like, see, I told you so. But I don't say that. Believe me, I don't say that. I was just with a client and he was nodding when I was giving advice. It was about what his wife should do. And he said, I never make those kind of recommendations. Because anyway, he knew better. I didn't. Um,
Smart man.
Dom, do you want to add anything to that, or should we
No,
just?
I think Jen covered it. If I was approaching the issue, I would probably run it multiple different ways. I would look back to when they retired and use the value of their assets at that point in time. I would run it with current assets and I would compare the numbers. And you talked about being fiscally conservative. I would probably tell them to pick the lower number so they don't run out of money. But that's how I would approach it. In addition, I would use our tools, our internal tools that Jen was just describing to run it that way. So I would, if I got that question from a client, I would slice and dice it a couple different ways and probably pick the more conservative. I'd present all numbers to the clients, but I'd probably make my recommendation based off the most conservative.
Let
Um,
me ask let me ask both of you a question. All right, so let's say that you run these numbers, which by all fair standards are very conservative. And let's just say, for discussion's sake, that you come up with a safe spending rate of $125,000. Well, you've been working with these clients for years. Do they actually spend that much, or do they tend to spend much less?
my clients tend to spend much less. It's a constant battle trying to get clients to spend or gift or whatever the case may be. But most of my clients don't spend nearly as much as they can afford to.
No, and we see them taking out their RMDs every year, but their IRAs just keep growing. They're not going down. So that's always a surprise to them.
Yeah, I've been fighting clients for 30 years, usually losing on that one. The one area that I've managed to get a little bit of traction on is taking their families on vacations. That's one area where grandma and grandpa have loosened the purse strings a little bit to provide family vacations. Um, Erica, do you want to take one or two more?
Yes, that would be great. So actually, I had one teed up, but I think you guys just teed up another question. So I'll come back to the one that I had. Um, you were just talking about how it's sometimes difficult to get clients to spend, how they have a lot of money, and lifetime gifting even can be difficult, but sometimes spending on kids and grandkids, we've been able to get through to them. Stephen asked, well, Stephen says, we are fortunate. Our retirement accounts are 75% of our net worth. The 25% in our brokerage accounts have large embedded capital gains. How do we gift to our heirs? And I'd like to pull, Jim, your lawyer, I don't know, whatever it is, where we can also sort of add our own thing to this question. I think maybe how can they make lifetime gifts to their heirs would be a good question, a good adaptation to that question.
Well, I'll just start by saying that though I'm a lawyer, I think that Jen and Dom are very aware of the step up and basis rules that might have an impact on this question. Um, I'm thinking, and well, I will sound like a lawyer now. Most lawyers answer everything with it depends, but there's a very good chance, depending on the relative income tax brackets of the parent and the child, it might make sense to give the child highly appreciated dollars, have the child cash that in, and will likely be in a lower tax bracket, even taking into consideration capital gains. Or if the client is much older, maybe well, you don't hope for the step up in basis, but maybe plan for the step up in basis. But Jen and Dawn might have different ideas. I'd certainly like to hear them. And by the way, I know what I'll tell you what Jen's going to say. I like to run the numbers on each individual situation. I don't like these general comments. Sorry about
Well,
that, Jen.
Jim, you're
I don't
exactly
mean to
right.
be
No,
sarcastic.
you're right. People will ask me, I'll ask for their child's tax return, and we will run some numbers to see what amount of capital gains the child can go up to, hopefully pay zero capital gains on cashing in the stock, and it works out great. It's a beautiful thing when you can gift appreciated stock, have your child cash it in and pay zero capital gains on it. I mean, I don't think it can get better than that. So even better than the step up in basis, really. It's kind of the same thing. So, Dom, I'm sure you
No,
have.
I agree. That would be my first thought is looking to leverage the 0% capital gains tax bracket for children. I will say if the children, not to get too technical, but if the children are dependents, there's kiddie tax rules that prevents you from doing that. So it would have to be a child that's maybe just graduated and doesn't have a job. The timing would have to be right there. I would say, again, I would need to look at the fact pattern, but if the 75% of your assets are in, we'll assume pre-tax IRA, traditional IRA, then your RMDs might be more than you're spending. So I would say let's look for some cash there. And then if there's no cash there, we can look to maybe the least appreciated assets. And Jim brought up a good point in that by gifting during your lifetime, you are giving up a step up in basis. But if the kid needs money, I mean, tax might be worth it. But also in PA, you also have to look at there's inheritance tax in Pennsylvania. So any assets included in your estate are subject to a tax. If you give it to lineal descendants, it's 4.5%. So there is a trade-off between gifting during your lifetime and giving up the step-up in basis and keeping assets in your estate for state either inheritance or estate taxes. The federal estate tax is so high that a lot of people don't have to worry about it, but there is a trade-off. It might be worth it, or come close to a wash on gifting some appreciated. I would gift the least appreciated assets is what I would look to first, but you might not be that far off if you're saving yourself on state estate or inheritance taxes.
So, Jim, both Dom and I have done analysis of preserving stock, highly appreciated stock for the step up versus gifting it now and what that long-term impact looks like. So sometimes it's just a trade-off and you're better off gifting it sooner rather than later.
Especially if the kids need money. If they need it, I mean, pay the tax and be done is what I say. I mean, every case is different, but if they need the money, it doesn't make sense to hoard it until hopefully you live to an old age, and by the time they inherit those monies, they might be financially set themselves. So,
Well, I could not agree with Dom more, which is a lot of these clients. So Dom and Jen just said that the clients don't spend or gift anywhere near what they could afford to. And I'm thinking of two clients in a relatively similar financial position, both with one child who was working in the nonprofit sector. One was very generous with gifts to that child, which enabled that child to get married, to buy a house, to put money away for their child's education, to live in a nice community near the parent. One parent gave their kid a condo, and the other parent who had relatively the same amount of money didn't gift. Ultimately, their child is going to inherit a ton of money when they're in their late 60s or 70s, and they just missed a huge opportunity. I'll tell you what's going on with me personally. So my daughter is living in well, let's say a not nice apartment in Beverly, Massachusetts, paying $2,700 rent. And it's going to make a lot more sense to get a condo for her so that she can start appreciating a higher, let's say, standard of living now instead of 30 years from now. Um, so I think that taking into the consideration the lifestyle of your child and what your child can do. And the other thing is, even if your child doesn't, quote, need the money, I guarantee you that your child has more financial worries than you might recognize. They're trying to balance their own retirement, college education, things that they should be having, like life insurance and other important things. And if you can make these more aggressive gifts because you can afford it, you can A, see the enjoyment that they're getting, and B, take a major stress load off of their life. So, Dom, I could not agree with you more. And I'm glad that even at your tender age, you still recognize the value um, of doing that.
And I'll take it a step further. Jim, you mentioned if the kids don't really need the money, a good strategy that we talked with a lot of our clients about are investment type gifts. So let's say that the child that you're talking about is working and they're in their lower income tax years and they're not contributing to their own retirement. Let's say they're making enough to live a good lifestyle, but they're not putting money into their own 401k or Roth 401k. Gifts from parents can help them have enough liquidity to contribute to their retirement plans, at least get a match from their employer if they're not doing that at a minimum. And then also maybe even help max theirs or substantially fund their own retirement accounts, which is going to make a huge difference later in life for them.
Well, by the way, I wouldn't mind doing the whole rest of the workshop like this, but I do have some points to cover. Why don't we take one more and then we'll move on?
Great. This one is from Alberto, and it's about the Roth conversion analysis that we do for clients. When you make analysis with different conversion values, as you mentioned, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, do you analyze all values for every year? What is the criteria for setting those 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 values?
So that depends. I hate to use Jim's words, his lawyer words, but it does depend because when we're making the recommendations, we're projecting out their future taxable income over 20 years sometimes. Just it depends on how old the person is. That's why I mentioned that it may be 20 years. It could be more than 20 years. So we try to find the pockets where we can utilize a larger Roth conversion. So we're managing tax brackets is definitely something that we're managing, but we're also looking at future tax brackets. We're looking at possible future inheritances by them also, and the impact and what the makeup of those inheritances would look like and how that would impact their overall taxable income. And we do manage the Medicare premiums or IRMA brackets. We also look at the net investment income tax brackets. And now today we have the new senior tax deduction that we also have to implement into our analysis. So there's a lot of different things that go into play. Unfortunately, it is a manual process for us. So we make tweaks all the time to see what makes the most sense and project it out. So I don't think we have an exact science, Dom and I. We just test it to see what makes sense. And I can't tell you how many times that we're amazed of what the outcome is. It's not always exactly what we think it's going to be.
Dawn, do you want to add anything to that before
That was
I?
very well said. The only other thing I would add is we also look at available cash reserves. So some of the clients that are very retirement plan heavy might not have the cash to pay the tax on the Roth conversion. That doesn't mean we don't do Roth conversions. There's other levers we can pull to get the money, but that is definitely a factor in addition to everything that Jen just mentioned.
Yeah, well, liquidity is really important. In fact, I've seen other advisors get people into some of this elder law planning where they use basically most of the available cash and they put it into a trust with the idea of preserving it um, from the
Nursing home.
retirement home. But interestingly, you can't protect your own IRA or retirement plan. And if they have a substantial IRA or retirement plan, they're not really protecting money. They're just using money that could have been used for a Roth IRA conversion. So you get some really terrible results by not really taking into consideration some of the nuances. Um, but I'll ask a question. Let me ask a question for both of you. So you've both been doing this a long time. You've both been doing Roth IRA analysis, not just for our firm, but for firms that you worked with before us. Would you say that it's getting harder, easier, or about the same in terms of complexity to do accurate Roth IRA analysis and tax planning in general, for that matter?
I think it's getting harder, much more complex, as the tax laws are changing. We thought they were going to get a little bit easier, but then we had some new items come into play. So I think I don't think it's ever been easy, but I do think there are more things to consider now, that we may not have had to consider before. How about you, Don? What do you?
Yeah, I'll second that. That's very well said. A lot of considerations. You mentioned the new tax bill that adds the senior deduction. That's one complexity that we were dealing with last year. There's a phase out range associated with that. So a lot of our clients are right near that phase out range. So now Roth conversions, if you're in that range, actually can reduce that deduction that you would have otherwise been entitled to, making the Roth conversion a little bit more expensive. And then above that, you have net investment income tax, and there's just a whole the Medicare premium increases. So there's a whole bunch of different levels to deal with. And that doesn't mean that we won't take you above that level if it makes sense in the context of your situation. Everybody's situation is a little bit different. So maybe for one person, it makes sense to incur those additional costs. Maybe for somebody else, it doesn't. So it's by no stretch simple, and I think it's definitely gotten harder over the years.
Okay, well, thank you both.